want my circular saw back. Hi guys, and welcome back to the show. Today we are starting a new table saw build. It's going to be challenging, but I'm looking really forward to it. So what's the problem with the old hacked DIY upside down circular saw? Well, I've made a list here, so I need to refer a bit to it. Well, first of all, I want a riving knife that follows the blade up and down. I want to be able to insert or use larger blades. The bench top is starting to get a bit tired. The miter gauge is a little bit out of whack. I want to make a fence for it. I want the ability to change inserts. Maybe I won't make trunnions at once, I don't know yet. But I will most certainly build the saw so that I'm able to make trunnions later if I want to. And last but not least, I want my circular saw back.
Luke, I am a Nomad's Projects. I found this used Kellen circular saw. It was 15 euros. That's 13 pounds or $17. The blade was stuck really fast and the mechanism for changing it is really bad.
Yes.
Originally I was only planning on keeping the motor itself and the trigger mechanism, but later I also decided on keeping parts of the shroud. You'll see more of that later. And I gotta tell you, this little saw was fighting me every step of the way. Base plate was mostly fixed with rivets that I had to drill out to get the base plate off.
Do you have a tool in your workshop that does the job and maybe you don't use it that often, but you just hate it? I have one of those, and I'll tell you what it is at the end of the video. See if you can guess what it is without cheating, and post down in the comments if you have one of those.
This flange here was just press fitted onto the arbor. And one of the things I'm a little bit anxious about when it comes to this build is how much play there will be in the blade after this. I'm also keeping the original riving knife and I will incorporate that into the design. My first plan was to fix the motor with the screws that attaches to the shroud, but I later decided against that.
Looks like M4.
I took off parts of the handle with a hacksaw, and the only reason I'm keeping the handle is that I don't want to fiddle with the trigger mechanism. I'll be wrapping some strips around the triggers and controlling the on-off of the saw via the power line.
These 3D printed clamps work just fine.
I decided to keep parts of the shroud, and I cut that off with an angle grinder and then ground it down a bit, but sadly I didn't get that on camera. I'll fix the motor to the shroud and then the shroud to the faceplate with some M8 screws. Note to self, no gloves when using the drill press.
Homemade 3D printed clamp.
After the pilot holes were drilled in the shroud, I could then widen them with an 8mm drill bit.
So let's do a test fit. Three minutes left on the camera. Okay, so now the saw is fixed to the shroud, and then the shroud is fixed to the first plate here. Of course we need to sink in these nuts and make space for the blade, but we cross that bridge when we get to it. Maybe I'll increase the size of these holes as well, so it allows for a little bit more of a micro adjustment. And that's it. And now the next piece sits like this, and the idea is that I make it snug so that it also supports the saw. These here interchangeable hole saws. They are such a mess, they fall apart. I just hate them. But they get the job done.
That's it for today, guys. I really hope you liked the video, and if this is your first visit to my channel, please consider subscribing. I'll catch you in the next one.